Save It for the Blind is sponsored by Kershaw Knives. Kershaw manufactures next-level pocket knives for outdoor enthusiasts. Save It for the Blind is now also being sponsored by Roseville Motorsports. Roseville Motorsports is the greater Sacramento area's premier destination for all your power sports vehicle needs. Stop in today to browse off-road vehicles from leading manufacturers like Polaris, Yamaha, and more. Rig 'em right, heavily seasoned gear for the die-hard waterfowl hunter. If you guys are enjoying the show, we'd love to hear from you and get your support. Please follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Your reviews really help us grow and reach more people. Thank you for being a part of our community. Come back to Sanborn.
Yeah.
I just did Joe Rogan last week, so I'm ready.
Put that a little bit closer to you, Peeters, and we're good to go.
How's that?
I got you.
Yeah.
Like that?
Sounds good, yeah.
All right.
We're ready to roll.
Cool.
You want to go for it, Mr. Jeff, and start her off?
Yeah, we're sitting here in Chico, California at a tasting room for Golden Beaver Distillery. Awesome place if you're here. Barnwood all over the walls. Awesome feel. I wish this place was here when I went to college in Chico State. We're here with the founder, Kris Koenig, also a sponsor of California Waterfowl's Veteran Hunt Program through the Pacific Flyway Whiskey. Every sale of that whiskey bottle goes back into our Veteran Hunt Program. So, Kris, thank you for coming on, hosting us here at this awesome place, and tell us a little bit more about the distillery.
Well, appreciate you guys being here. And again, we're really glad to be partnered with you guys because we believe in the Veteran Hunt Program, even though it's headed up by a crayon eater named Mike Keller.
Hey, those Marines, man, you can't get them around the variety pack.
You can't, the box of 101 is a meal to them. So we opened up and we started in 2019, and we specialize in distilling rice. As if you guys are hunters in this area, you've all stood out in a rice check in the middle of winter, and so it's a very unique spot. We're one of the only distilleries in the country that distills rice, and we use it in mainly all our product. So,
what was your thought process behind that, since it's so unique?
Well, I went to a trade school in Louisville called Moonshine University, because even though I had been distilling in my garage, maybe will not confirm.
Unconfirmed.
That at that school, it was all about corn, because they were mainly focused on bourbon and producing bourbon, and corn is the main product, the main starch in most whiskey and vodka production in the United States. So it was nothing but corn. And I was just, by the third day, I was tired of hearing about corn, because we have corn in California. We have great corn in California. But for us, working our distillery, we needed to work off our food shed, and our food shed here is rice. It's not corn. Now, we do use corn. The bourbon that you're drinking right now has 51% corn in it, but it's got 25% rice, so it makes it unique that way. So we had no choice. I mean, it was just, we were going to have to do something with rice. And so we created our mash bills around that, and continue today.
How different is the process using rice over a traditional corn?
As far as production, it's about the same, because basically what we're doing is converting that starch. We break that starch out of the grain by cooking it, do the same thing with corn. And then when you get a big old pot of starch, liquid starch, you add either an enzyme, which is alpha amylase, either through raw amylase, which is the same as the spit in your mouth, or you put in barley. And barley has that alpha amylase in the barley itself, and then it converts. So most mash bills will have a 5% barley component, so it converts that starch to sugar. And so you can do either way.
Okay.
Most production distilleries do both. They'll put in barley, and then they'll also put in alpha amylase so that they get as much alcohol out of that mash as possible. The purists, the craft distillers out there, some are very vehement about not using liquid enzymes, but for production, you have to. if you got a bean counter on board, he's counting bushels and counting output. So you have to do it.
Like, what about the price point? Is it more expensive to use the rice for the fermentation, or
Are other people just not using rice because the availability where they make it?
Yeah, there's two things there. Price wise, rice we use basically mill waste. We use what's called the broken. So when they go and they take off the bran off the rice and they polish the grain, the polishing process breaks that kernel.
Okay.
And those kernels will fall out. That becomes what they call brokens. Brokens are usually used for crackers and for other uses, but we use it for production. So we get a price break.
Okay.
It's a little cheaper than corn, but not much.
Yeah.
And then as far as why other distilleries don't use it, A, it's not in their food shed, and B, I think they're kind of xenophobic about using rice.
Okay.
They just they're not going to do it.
Huh.
And the beans has done a little bit. The bean family have used some 4-grain mash bills in the past, usually with brown rice, which it's okay. But our rice that we grow here, Cal Rose rice, is very special. It's got a high starch value. It's got great taste components to it. Tastes better than brown rice, and that's going to convert into a better whiskey.
Gotcha.
So you have plenty of rice available out here for what you're trying to do then, obviously.
Absolutely. And our mill's only 12 miles away. So when we talk about, not important to a lot of people because of their belief systems, but when we talk about our carbon footprint as a distillery, it's extremely small because we travel 12 miles to get our rice.
And everything else is done here in Chico.
Everything's done here in Chico. And so we also use propane instead of natural gas because it doesn't create a greenhouse exhaust. And we use all our water is either recycled or it goes to feed cows. So when we're done with the mash process, we dump those stills, and that waste basically goes, and there's some happy cows around the corner. They're eating, there's a little bit of alcohol left in there, so they are addicted to it.
Yeah.
You talk to the farmer when he goes out there with these totes, he's got to be careful not to put himself between the trailer and the cows.
Really? They get into it a little bit more?
Yeah, they run across the field for him. So
that's wild.
And I'm guessing that it's also local to local kind of support, right?
Absolutely. So
yeah, that's great.
We try to keep a very well-rounded, well-balanced process. In fact, we create 7 different labels off of a single mash bill, which is unheard of in this industry.
Wow.
Because rice and the rice distillate it creates is very malleable. So we can either barrel it, we can redistill it and make vodka, we can run it through and make gin. Again, we can make flavored moonshines. So we're probably the most efficient distillery out there in the country.
Where have you kind of taken it from the beginning? 1 gallon made, now how many years later, productivity levels and...
Yeah, well, we started out, hand to mouth, like all craft distillers. We're now distributed by Costco. So we're in about 18 warehouses on any given day. Costco's one of those places that you got to hit it. When it's there, you grab it.
Yeah.
They rotate it out. And so we're slowly growing our footprint. We just picked up a distributor in Nevada.
Okay.
So we should be starting to pop up in Reno and Vegas and places like that.
Oh, perfect.
Watch out, Winnemucca, here we come.
What's your signature? Like when people go to the store and buy a bottle, what typically is that? Is it the whiskey, bourbon? I mean, you guys have the moonshine, vodka,
soju.
We have the soju.
Yeah. Oh,
well,
boy.
we'll talk about the soju because that's going to become huge here in a minute. Right now, our main label that people are in a Costco environment are probably looking at the Honey Run.
Okay.
So we take a bourbon that comes out of Indiana, like all distilleries bottle. Every major brand in the country uses MGP bourbon in some way or another. And so we take that bourbon that comes in, we blend them with blend those barrels with local wildflower honey to make our honey run.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
what's nice about it, it's not a syrup. We're using raw, pure honey, and we balance that blend so it makes the perfect old fashioned.
I was thinking that.
So
yeah.
it's not super sweet. It's really tasty. It's great on its own. You can throw some bitters on it, and if you have a bar at your house and you don't want to play bartender, you just put a couple drops of bitters, and you basically have an old fashioned.
No adding your sugar or any of that. It's already.
You got a
sweet enough.
Wisconsin boy sitting here. You're talking old fashions.
Well, I'll tell
Don't you know? That's right up my alley there.
Yeah, well, when we get done with this, I'll fix you up one of our smoked old fashions.
Oh,
there we go. Boy.
I do want to introduce retired Colonel Mike Peeters, who is a volunteer extraordinaire for California Waterfowl, helping run our veteran hunt program with Mike Kellogg. So he's sitting at the table, and then, of course, Carson Odegard, the other co-host, is sitting here sipping some bourbon. But Mike, why don't you talk a little bit about our veteran hunt program? This is kind of how the relationship started, and kind of talk about what we're doing with that program and where it's going.
Well, as you know, it started out with a couple of hunts 10, 11 years ago now already, 12 years maybe.
Yeah. I'm really hard at math, so
you're
something
pretty
like
good.
that.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Over the years we've been fortunate to put veterans in the field and take them out and enjoy opportunities for them, and just kind of build onto both waterfowl hunting and folks who have served. And so we've gone from a handful of hunts to well over 600 or 700 in the field the last couple of years, and it continues to grow because people in the community continue to give us opportunities, and we continue to meet different folks, and what we're doing here with Kris, and just build the program out. But I think one of the most important elements of the program is that so many veterans, they're looking to connect back into the veteran community, and we can do that through our veteran hunt program by allowing them to come and participate in these hunts and be back into the veteran realm, if you will, through the hunting program. So, it's an opportunity for CWA to build out one of our programs. It's an opportunity for us to reach into the veteran community. It's an opportunity for us to meet the veterans who exist in and around us. And so many of them want to come back out and hunt and enjoy and volunteer. And we've been absolutely fortunate. Kris and I were on a hunt. It's been a couple of years now, I think, already. And, he mentioned, hey, maybe I'd like to, be part of what you guys are doing. Like so many of them, and it's evolved into this wonderful opportunity with a branded label and the growth of his company and the growth of our organization, and his willingness and desire to participate in what we're doing and continue with a whole host of volunteers to build the program. And that kind of gives you an idea of, I hope, what we are looking for.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank both of you. Obviously, the veteran hunt program is near and dear to me, but it's volunteer based, and everyone out there guiding and running hunts are past veterans, and they're volunteers, and it wouldn't happen with everyone else. And Kris, you just went on one of our hunts at Staten Island. Tell us a little bit about that. You timed it right. Looked like you had the storm of the century out there.
It was perfect. It was a perfect hunt. We had retired Coast Guard Captain Ron Cadal came out, and a good friend of mine. We started out as E4s together when we met, and he went Mustang and ended up running the Coast Guard Reserve for the East Coast. So
nice.
He's and spent a lot of time. He did 40 years and just
Wow.
retired. He's currently working for the Port of Boston, but he can't. He was floating on clouds coming off that hunt. It was a special day. you wake up and the rain is horizontal, it's going to be good for duck hunting.
Especially if you're chasing geese.
Boy, and
they're going to be on the
that
deck.
does not happen at Staten Island very often.
Yeah, most times it's foggy. You can't see your hand in front of your face.
Yeah, or dead calm and nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, we've been out there. I used to buy a hunt at our local fly fishing dinner.
Yeah.
And used to buy a hunt straight from the Nature Conservancy. And so 2 years ago we did that, and I invited Mike to come out, and then Ron came out, and we had a good time. But it was not like this last hunt. This last hunt was just amazing. I mean, I've never had to shoot a standing duck in the sense that he was just the geese came in, speckle belly came in, and was literally 20 feet over our head, just stationary.
Couldn't go anywhere.
Couldn't go anywhere.
The wind that day, for folks that remember, it was December.
Second week in December?
Second week of December, and it was blowing like 40 miles an hour on a Saturday. So if you're out there, you'll remember that day.
Yeah, it was like whitecaps and at Grizzly Ranch. That's where I was at.
Anywhere there was standing water, there was whitecaps. It didn't much how much water there was.
Well, I was at a veteran hunt at Grizzly Ranch, and it was literally whitecaps in the ponds. And you guys were at Staten Island with Mike, and I forget the stat sheet on it, but it was like...
It was 120 birds for 11 guys, something like that.
It was
outrageous.
It was crazy.
And
just everyone, pictures of you guys walking back with your straps of birds in the rain and the wind. That must have been a pretty slow walk back to the parking lot.
It was. And then we had to go find some drifters, so that took, the dogs loved that, but it was a very special day. Had a bunch of active duty guys from Monterey, from DLI. And I think they had a special lifetime.
And a lot of those guys were brand new hunters, which can you imagine that being your first hunt? You're ruined at that point.
Absolutely. No, but it was great. It's a great hunt, and Mike and his crew pulled it off. I mean, they did a really great job.
Yeah.
So, but it was a magical day, man.
What'd your buddy think coming out from Boston?
Oh, he's going home to buy a better shotgun. I'll tell you, the rain was so bad that he was using one of my Frankies.
Okay.
Semi Frankie that's in 20 gauge, and it just started. Everything was just wet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was one of those hunts where you weren't going to get wet, and of course, the oil was up in the truck. And nobody wanted to walk back to get to the oil, and we needed oil, obviously.
Right.
But so it started to foul up. So he's going to buy his own shotgun, which is about time. He can afford it.
Yeah,
He's a triple dipper at this point.
Did you bring your dog out on that hunt?
Oh yeah, Rio was there, man.
How did Rio do?
Oh, he did great.
That's awesome.
Black
Lab, how old was he?
He's 7 now.
7.
That's about mine.
He's
good age.
He's turned out to be a stud in the blind.
That's awesome.
It's his third full year of duck hunting. He's great pheasant hunting, but because of the veteran hunt program, I can get him out a lot more with the ducks. So it's great for that.
Love that.
Yeah, but it was a great day, and again, I've been to Staten where you just don't get anything. And spent long, cold, miserable mornings out there, and you don't see, everything kind of goes off one way or the other.
Yeah.
It got to the point there was a blind behind us, and just as those geese would come in, those suckers would shoot. It was like perfect timing. In fact, we were joking. I said, just right about now, and they'd shoot, and they would veer off.
Right.
So it was just, we're a little pissed about that. But we would have just all gotten limits on that if that hadn't happened.
Yeah. Now on your previous hunts, was it when they still had a lot of corn out there, or was it when it was rice? Now it's kind of changed over the last couple of years.
I think the first time they had the boats.
Okay.
You guys did the boats down the
and
channels. You took the
and
TNC boats.
Yeah, and it was that was a little sketchy.
We rode in one of those one time.
You spent most of your morning trying to get the motor started. So I'm really glad they killed that. So that was a smart move on whoever runs that program.
Yeah. So this year, Staten Island's has been
off the chain.
It's been phenomenal. Yeah, but that's when it was corn back then in the boats, and we used those boats a couple times to help out brushing blinds and stuff. And you're right, they were very hard to start, and
you didn't have much room for air in those little ditches.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No,
I hit one of them ditches once. Yeah, forget that.
Yeah. We were down there, unfortunately, during the Paradise Fire, but it was foggy and everyone's wearing smoke masks, but we were kind of coming up to a quick deadline and getting the property ready for the upcoming hunts. But I saw a picture of that day. Us in that boat. Yeah.
I remember that.
They got a great facility out there too.
Yeah, to be able to host us.
To be able to host us and stay overnight there, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's been a great partnership with the Nature Conservancy. We've been out there, I think, over 5 years now. But essentially, we partner with them to offer a public hunting program, and then they also have an old, basically farmhouse that a manager probably lived in at one time. And when we do our veteran events or women's events, we're able to host people there and stay there and just make
or new family duck camp that's coming up.
Do you have a family duck camp coming up?
We still, I think, have one spot open.
Really?
I think one spot. We had a cancellation, so I think we got one spot open.
Perfect. Live
January 19th. Yep, still online.
Yeah, if you're a veteran, you just have to sign up for that hunt. There's no way not to.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, whether you get birds or not, the whole experience is worth it.
Yeah. Mike, what's the hunt you got going on this weekend?
This weekend we're going to host the Vietnam veterans.
Okay.
At one of our neighboring properties. And so we do this. We started this a couple of years ago. One of the landowners wanted to encourage us to do a focused Vietnam veteran hunt. So we do that every year. And, they're getting a little bit older.
A little bit harder to find them.
Well, they're there, but, they're just getting a little bit up there in age. So we have to kind of tailor the hunt to them. And then we have a follow-on at our Denverton property, which is one of our annual hunts. And then the Colusa National Wildlife Refuge does a great job out there with all their ponds.
Their assigned ponds.
Yeah, the assigned ponds, and they do a hunt out there with just a veteran focus hunt. And what's kind of really neat about the Colusa thing is it started with one of the refuge manager kind of organizing it, but they call them the Colusa rats, the guys that all hunt out there, and they all come back and volunteer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, do the volunteer guiding for all the veterans, and it's been a pretty standardized group of guys. They come back each and every year and host and take the veterans out, and they kind of get behind that hunt.
I think if I was still, hunting the refuges a lot, say Delavan, where I used to frequent a lot, if they told me, hey, we're going to have a bunch of veterans come in and it's this weekend, who wants to volunteer? And I got an opportunity to take someone out and get them in the best blind possible, I'd volunteer in a second, just to be able to go out and see that. Because you as a normal hunter, you may maybe get into those top blinds once in a season, but for you to go out and help somebody that deserves it and then go be able to watch that, hand up, I'm in.
Yeah, they do a great hunt. They very, very supportive. The whole staff comes out. They really get behind it, and the game wardens are all out there and do great things and shake hands, and that hunt has been a great hunt for us.
Yeah, and if folks are listening, this has been going on for a number of years, but similar to the in-season youth hunts, it is posted when it's going to happen. So when you are doing your reservations for the year, just check and see where the special hunts are. But if you did get drawn number 1 for that day, for example, you'd be hunting in free roam, not one of the assigned ponds. But yeah, that historically has been probably one of the better days throughout the season, average-wise for Delavan, is that weekend, or Colusa, excuse me. So we're definitely fortunate to keep that going with change of staff out there as well. So the refuge is going.
Yeah,
so,
they haven't missed a beat. I mean, they got right behind it.
It's been going 5
over 5, because we used to stay at the Colusa Casino and had a big showing there, but I can't remember when it actually started, but it's been at least 5
years ago.
5,
yeah,
6
I think
years.
it was 6 years ago.
Yeah. So it's a busy weekend. We have college camp coming up. Got a bunch of weekend events. We have a women's hunt tomorrow or tonight.
New Year's hunt
tomorrow. Yeah, the very first one there. So
I want to transfer back to the distilling aspect of things. So I'm a big game hunter, so I have a lot of red meat. My wife works in the wine industry, so I'm red wine. Do you have spirits that you normally pair for dinner aspects for something like that? Game status.
You have to be a successful big game.
Which I am. I don't. Hey, I'm not a Midwest guy like you. I don't have my doe tags.
Oh yeah.
Hey, dude, any 5-pound deer here is big.
I think you actually got one this year, so
I've got
maybe
a deer
this
and
question
an elk.
is pertinent.
Okay.
Oh, you did. Congratulations on the elk. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I would do the regular flyaway. So
Okay.
a regular flyway whiskey. It's got a lot of sweet components to it, but it still has a nice base note that
Yeah.
pairs well with game. So it's really good for that. And then grappa. After you've had a big heavy meal, a lot of, if you've had, especially like Thanksgiving, or you've had, even goose or duck, nothing clears your palate like the grappa.
So one of the things that I've always questioned stuff, I see people serve whiskey or bourbon, straight without any ice in it, and then there's some with ice in it. So what's the difference in what's happening there?
Well, it depends on what you like.
Okay, so it's all personal preference. There's
It's
nothing
personal
wrong
preference.
either way.
Correct.
Gotcha,
So what normally happens is that you would do when you first get poured a dram. So if we go back to Scotch, they call it a dram, or we call it a shot here. But if somebody pours you a dram, they'll put it down, or they'll ask you if you want it neat or straight, or neat or on ice, and that's up purely up to you. Nothing's wrong on having it either way. If you want to taste what the distiller made, if that's something you're interested, you've kind of gone in that we call them, bourbon geek. You're going to take a little bit of water. You're going to splash it onto the whiskey. The reason why is that the water actually breaks some of the bonds that are formed between whatever water is in the whiskey and the alcohol, and it breaks those and releases all of the odors that are in there. I won't say, should say aroma, not odor.
Yeah.
It allows you to smell those components. And so you put a couple drops of water on it, opens it up, and you can taste it then. So you should do a straight taste with nothing, add a little water, and then add your ice.
Interesting.
Now, if you're drinking like what you're drinking today, it's barrel strength, so it's 114 proof. And most people's palates, they're probably more comfortable at 80 or 90 proof. So my suggestion is you put some ice on it, drink it right away, and over time, that ice will dilute, will break down, dilute, and add water to the whiskey, and then you'll be able to taste the whole spectrum of flavors. So as you guys have been drinking this, you've noticed it's changed flavors. Your palate's changed because you've introduced alcohol to it, and you haven't messed that up, and you keep adding, you keep drinking it, and so your palate is more sensitive to what you're enjoying. And so you taste more.
Okay.
And then the water, again, it adds the component that it releases all those aromas. So your nose gets involved in the tasting process, which is super important. That's the problem when we have a tasting room here. We'll pour somebody a sample, and then they shoot it back like they're at a saloon. So, it's like, no, stop,
nice
time out. We're
throat.
gonna try this again. Because you didn't taste it.
Yeah.
You drank it, but you didn't taste it, and there's a difference. So
Okay. Yeah. I've always heard, you're watering down your whiskey, but in a sense, you're supposed to actually get the full aromas.
To break it.
yeah,
break
you
it
should,
down, break it.
especially if you're doing anything that's over 90 proof.
Interesting. I will
you
start
want,
doing
you
that.
want to spank it a little bit because, first of all, it's not good for your intestines to go high octane. And some of these barrel proofs coming out of, let's say, Kentucky, because their entry proof into the barrel is at 125, their single barrels are sometimes up over 130.
That's
and-
bottled 130, like coming
Yeah,
to the consumer.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And some are even what they call hazmat, which is, bumping up against 140. So at that level, your intestines just, you just can't take it. I'm sorry. I mean, you want to be a man and show that you can drink it. Booker's a good example. Booker's is usually, in the high 120s. Super tasty, made by the Beam family. But again, best thing on Booker's is a little water, and in fact, Booker himself used to put, I believe it was Dr. Pepper.
Oh, interesting.
He designed that mash bill and that bottling that is now called Booker's to go with Dr. Pepper
As a mixed drink or just a little
as
splash?
a mixed drink.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I
I'll have
like
to try
Dr.
that.
Pepper. There you go.
I'm not a
No,
big Dr. Pepper fan, but
Well, it's
they gotta try
actually
that.
Dr. Pepper's really good. Another one, they do a ginger beer. They call it something else. Just left my brain. I just about had it. It's almost like a ginger ale,
Okay.
and you mix ginger ale with whiskey is also very good. So
No. Going back to the ice, do you prefer like regular ice out of a refrigerator, or they're like the big cubes, or like the whiskey
That's
stones?
a good question. Yeah, because
I got some circular cubes and the big fat ones, like kind of like the bigger ones.
Yeah,
but
the reason you want to use the bigger ones, there's more mass, so that it takes longer for them to chill down and dilute. So it's better for your whiskey experience.
okay.
interesting.
But drink it any way you can drink it.
Like the whiskey stones. What's your thought on that?
Throw them away.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've never had a whiskey. I've never used
There's not
one.
enough thermal mass to do anything, and it's everyone gets them for Christmas because somebody
Right.
can't buy for you, so everyone's got a bunch of whiskey stones and put them in your terrarium. They're great.
Gotcha.
I think I got some like 2 years ago, and I threw them in my freezer, and I like took it out. I was like, it's not even cold, and I don't know what it's doing. So I have like the spherical ice. I'm like, I'm just going to use this.
Yeah, I have those and the big fat.
Yeah, you have the big cubes. Yeah,
which are good.
So we use the big cubes here. We have a guy that supplies them to us.
Oh, nice.
So they're about $1 a cube by the time
really?
we serve
No
them to the
kidding.
public. Yeah, they're expensive, but
big
they're,
business.
they're
I might have to get into that business.
crystal clear. Uses a bandsaw to cut them. That's
Really?
that's how big his operation is.
I'll go 50 cents, Chris.
Well, you notice you got cubed ice.
That's kind of interesting because if you're from Wisconsin, the way they make an old fashioned is not the way they make an old fashioned in many other parts of the country. They don't use a single cube of
Put a
ice.
cheese curd in there.
It could be a cheese curd. Could be
Two
a cheese curd or a fried perch.
Instead of a cherry,
Fried perch.
instead of a cherry, it's a cheese curd.
But it is. I mean, old fashions are like the #1 drink in the state of Wisconsin.
So what is it? What's the
But they're
difference?
brandy.
Well,
they're brandy old fashioned.
Yeah, they take a whole glass of ice and pour the whiskey over the top, and then a little bit of old fashioned mix, or they use a sweetener with a little bit of bitters. But out here, and actually in a lot of parts of the East Coast, like you guys were talking about, they use a big single ice cube,
Yeah.
and then whiskey over the top, or whatever the choice is.
So is that what you grew up on, the old fashions?
Oh yeah,
But with
yeah,
brandy.
sure. Yeah. Well, brandy, yeah,
It's
whiskey,
a national
either
drink
one.
in Wisconsin.
Really?
There's
I had no clue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff, you should know that.
Do you have?
Don't
the,
you know?
Do you
You
have
visited
the,
cheese curd country.
Do you have the orange garnish and the
You
cherry?
could garnish. It's interesting because some people garnish with Brussels sprouts.
No.
Some people
Brussels
garnish with
sprouts.
olives or cherries. So yeah, they use Brussels sprouts.
I like a good Brussels sprout, but I don't know about in my drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a
Chris,
olive
what's your
guy.
opinion on that?
My opinion is we're going to show you how to drink a real old fashioned here after the broadcast.
No Brussels sprouts harmed in the
For,
making of
for all
this
my
old
Wisconsin
fashioned.
listeners, we're going to find something new here.
The important thing about an old fashioned is, drink them early and often and drink them any way you want. But I think a real good old fashioned has to be smoked. You have to have a smoked old fashioned.
And what do you mean by smoked?
So what we do is we take old bourbon barrels and we shave them down. So these are barrels that have had whiskey in them for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And then we shave them into basically shavings. And then we smoke that over the top of the whiskey. So we light those shavings on,
Oh boy.
drops the smoke down onto the drink, and then you let it sit there for a minute or two, and then you pour it. And it adds a really nice aroma and flavor profile to your old fashioned.
Interesting. So is that smoke getting into the liquid, or is it sitting in? Where's that?
It
the
goes in.
taste?
It goes into the liquid
Okay, that's crazy.
because those oils that drop. You'll see it when we do it here. You'll see that smoke drop right down onto the liquid. And if you look at the glass when you get done, it'll be tinted. It'll have a haze to it because all those oils came down in that smoke, and adds a really nice profile to it.
You can support California Waterfowl today by visiting calwaterfowl.org to get your memberships, shop for hats, coolers, and more, apply for hunts, purchase event tickets, and join us to make a difference between waterfowl conservation. Some cool upcoming events. We are going to be at the Sacramento International Sportsman Show at Cal Expo, January 16th through the 19th. Come check us out at our CWA booth. We'll also be doing some seminars at the Adventure Theater. Topics include refuges, waterfowl ID, and duck and goose calling. That is both Friday and Saturday starting at 4:30. Couple of our upcoming banquets. We have our Gridley Banquet, January 18th. This event sells out every year. We also have Willow's Banquet, the closing weekend of waterfowling. That is January 25th. And then we have our San Diego Banquet on February 7th and our Red Bluff Banquet February 8th. Hope to see you there. Thank you.
I like these participation podcasts. Where
Yeah.
That's where we're going with it. You know.
I like that.
Now, Kris, have you taken those shavings and done like smoked meats in those? Because it could be another business.
I have.
Yeah.
I have taken a stave and cut it and thrown it on under my smoker. Yes. So
Ooh, that sounds good too.
Sounds good.
and I have a buddy I hunt with out of Richvale down here. Takes me out of his blind now and then, and he is the master smoker. This guy, I mean, we're in the blind. He starts pulling out smoked salmon. There'll be trout.
That's a good blind partner to have.
Oh, boy.
The guy that brings the
smoked duck.
snacks.
Yeah, smoked duck. I mean, it's great.
I'm guessing we'll get him on our next veteran hunt.
There's lots of different blind members. There's the one that hunts a lot,
right.
the one that brings snacks.
Yeah.
The guy that doesn't hunt, those are the ones you really want.
Those are the ones you want.
know,
Jeff had a buddy come hunting with us. Said, "Hey, you guys want some donuts or some breakfast burritos?" I was like, "Bring this guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Bring this guy more."
So I bring nothing. I bring my
say-
coffee.
I'm in it for me.
and water. Yeah, maybe a granola bar, but yeah.
Yeah.
You
Usually
want to
what
be
I say
invited
is,
back. You bring the snacks.
I'll bring the trash talk, but I'm not bringing the breakfast.
I usually say,
I bring the
what do you
smack.
got? What do you
Yeah,
got?
I bring the
What'd
smack.
you bring? Jeff, what do you got over there?
You get in somebody else's blind
Yeah.
bag, start stealing snacks.
Yeah.
Well, when you're hunting with Mike Peeters in Wisconsin, you got the buck bomb and the doe estrus and all this stuff out there. Go to
He's
Cabela's.
giving you all
and-
the doodads.
Yeah,
Oh, I
the
never had so
knickknacks.
many things next to my blinds and
It was
trying
like
to
a
get
Christmas tree with all the stuff hanging around you.
You throw a buck bomb in there, and it looks like a frag or whatever. It's like smoking everywhere.
Hilarious.
That's good stuff.
You stop by Buc-ee's on your way to the blind? Because that's really big back east, right? Buc-ee's.
Oh, Buc-ee's?
Buc-ee's,
I know.
yeah.
What is it? A gas station / drive-through?
Yeah.
It's huge, man.
Yeah.
These things are like the Walmart of highway stops.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen like
Right.
the
Videos of it.
memes
Truck
and stuff
stop.
of them.
Truck
like,
stop.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
But they
you-
use a beaver as their mascot. So
Yeah, they
you
use
can't
that. They
keep
use the
That's
beaver. That's
true.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so talk about the soju. Am I pronouncing that right?
Soju.
Soju.
You obviously have never been to Korea.
Well, what do you think? Let's
let's take a guess.
let's get a guess on
Those of
Jeff's-
us in the military, we know what soju is.
Consider I've only been on the west coast of the United States. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I've been in Wisconsin.
That was your big travel day, Wisconsin. Well, you're going to
yeah.
New Zealand. That'll be your biggest.
Oh.
Well, think of how I
yeah.
grew up.
That's
I mean,
right.
I traveled 6 hours away to the Bay Area. That was the farthest south I had ever been until I was playing baseball in college. So, like,
Wow.
big person that's been out, small town boy.
Yeah.
All right. So, no, I've not been to Korea.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So in Asia, it's very common to have a rice-based moonshine, and it's
Okay.
called soju or sochu, depending on if you're Korean or Japanese. Vietnamese have a version. The Chinese have a version. Because again, it's food shed, right? So
Yeah.
liquor developed because the farmer had to do something with the excess grain, because if they left it around, rodents would get to it or it would mold, especially in Asia. So because of the rain. So you had a choice. You took your excess that you couldn't sell at market, and you made liquor. I mean, that's how you fed your family. And they don't have liquor laws like we have here. You know, a farmer can make his own hooch and go in the market and sell it.
Okay.
Hence the reason why there's alcohol poisoning all the time and methanol poisoning in Asia. Another story for another day. But so it's a very common drink. And if you go to a sushi, go out to have sushi, or you go out to have Korean barbecue, soju or sochu will be on the menu for a drink.
Okay.
In the state of California, after the LA riots, as a compensation or appeasement or whatever you want to call it for what had happened to the Korean community in Los Angeles, they were given privileges by ABC that the beer and wine licensees, the restaurateurs, could sell imported soju and sochu. Actually, it was soju first. And so that law went in effect in the late 90s, and it stayed in effect up until about 2 years ago. And a Japanese-American assembly member who was born out of Okinawa said, well, why isn't it soju? And so they changed the law. Well, when he tried to pass that bill, because we found out as we were selling our soju that because it wasn't imported, we couldn't sell it to the beer and wine licensees. We had a non-compliance problem. So we had to pull back, which was very expensive exercise for us. And so we went to our local assembly member, James Gallagher, and said, hey, this is, first of all, the most un-Californian, un-American BS rule ever created, that I can't, as a craft distiller, sell my soju to these licensees that foreign nationals can sell to, right? So we drafted the bill because the assembly member, who was Japanese American, wouldn't change his rule to include the word domestic. Obviously, he was getting paid by the. I'm not, speculating here, and I'm not saying he did this, but I'm sure somebody was, someone's interest was involved, influencing the decision here. So we got James Gallagher on board, who's a rice farmer.
Yeah, friend of CWA.
Great friend of CWA. And we went ahead and got a new bill drafted, a new rule drafted, and went through both the House and the Senate with 100% vote, and the governor signed it.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So starting tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
You're kidding.
Tomorrow
1-1. There you go.
1-1. We can start selling back into beer and wine.
Shout out James Gallagher.
Elon
Musk.
James Gallagher.
Hey, James is good.
James is super nice guy. Super smart too. Really, really good
That's
guy.
cool.
So,
Yuba City man.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Local boy.
Does he duck hunt?
He does duck hunt.
Even better.
Yeah. We should get him out on the hunt.
Yeah, he was just actually out at Rancho Esquan this last weekend.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And a couple other folks. Yep.
Yeah. No, he's a great guy. So he helped us immensely making that happen.
That's good to hear.
And so we got the rule changed. What's really nice is the way the rule is written. We can also do ready to drink cocktails using the soju. As long as it says soju on there, it's not over 24% alcohol. We can do it. So it's a multi level type of rule now.
You'd mentioned it's similar to a moonshine. So is this something like you're sipping on?
Yeah, like what are people making with it? You buy a bottle of soju, what are they doing?
Yeah, or they order it from the restaurant. Like, is it just a shot? Not necessarily a shot, but like the size of a shot.
No, they bring the whole bottle.
Okay.
Oh.
And so you and your buddy would sit there and eat some Korean barbecue or sushi, and you would kill the bottle. It's usually anywhere between 18 and 24% on traditional.
So a little higher than a bottle of wine, basically.
Yeah. And,
interesting.
There's many times you go out to restaurants, more than one bottle.
Yeah.
That is consumed between a couple of business guys. So it's basically white whiskey. So it's whiskey that's come off. It's distillate that's come off the still. It's not whiskey technically because it hasn't touched oak. So we call it a white dog or a moonshine, or that then is proofed down to 48% proof.
What do you mean by the proof downing? What are you doing to it?
You add water.
Okay.
You add reverse osmosis water. We do here. You don't. Some places will add mineral water to it, but the problem with that, it clouds it up. It's a long story, but you proof it down, and then a lot of soju coming out of Korea is flavored. So the younger drinkers like mango or lemon lime or cherry or whatever, and they'll serve those in small 6-ounce bottles. So you'll see those usually in the refrigerator in the restaurant as well.
Okay.
And there's been a really tremendous growth with like the craft breweries. I mean, you see it everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
All you have to do is walk into a local grocery store. You used to see
hard to pick something that you want to drink.
There's 78 different flavors, and it used to be Coors Light, Bud Light, and Miller Light, right? Yeah,
but that's the reason you saw those in distribution is because they were bought up by bigger breweries, and they took the label. So Lagunitas was bought by Heineken.
Mm-hmm.
These are all acquired companies. The craft breweries are probably getting smacked harder than distilleries right now. We've lost one right now here in town, just closed last week, and probably have a couple on the edge to close as well. Just because people aren't drinking beer anymore. Beer is, and then with Trump coming in and him threatening tariffs, the number one beer in the world right now, or in the U.S., is Modelo, and Modelo is going to get slapped with tariffs. and that's going to spin that one up. And so if you like Modelo, I would say, between here and the 21st of January,
Stock up.
stock up and put some. I mean, you can't keep it forever, but
Yeah.
if you like Modelo,
I'm
better
tell
buy
my
some.
wife those 24 cases of Modelo in my basement are because of the tariffs.
That's
Exactly.
right.
It's
You
a
can't.
valid reason.
Because you're gonna end up paying 25% more for that 6-pack or that case. So
Wow.
it's coming.
Huh.
So, and the same thing if you like Canadian beer. If you're a Labatt's guy or what you're drinking, that's Wisconsin-esque, right?
Labatt's,
Labatt.
Canada.
What do they drink up in Wisconsin beer wise?
Oh boy, we there's a Busch Light is pretty popular.
Okay.
Miller Lite is made Miller and Miller Lite all made in Milwaukee, right?
Do you guys hate people that drink Coors Light?
No,
You kick them out of
no.
your establishments.
Now Wisconsin people are pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, we even welcome Bears fans. Chicago Bears fans, right? We're like,
You
come on,
welcome
have
everybody.
come on
Well,
and
you
have a
gotta have
beer with us
somebody
because
to
we
pick
always
on.
beat you.
Well, believe it or not, the number one draft light beer in America right now is Ultra. Michelob
Yeah,
Ultra.
Michelob
Oh, I
Ultra.
believe that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Everybody they know from South Carolina, that's their thing. Ultras.
That is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did low alcohol, low calorie.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's the way to go.
Yeah, I've never got on that
I'd rather
bandwagon.
drink soju. And what you would get back to your original question, soju can be consumed on its own.
Mhm.
You can mix it with anything. Costco sells this carbonated juice called Izzy's.
Oh, I know
Yeah,
Izzy's,
very
yeah.
popular.
You get a variety pack of Izzy's and a bottle of soju. You're set for the week.
Mm.
Huh. Interesting.
And
That sounds
it's a
good.
great afternoon drink. So
Warm weather.
So I was
Yeah.
saying fishing on a boat,
Oh,
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sitting on the river, sun's on you.
Mhm.
little striper fishing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little striper.
If I ever get invited, I don't know.
Once you lose the biggest fish of your life, it's really hard to get an invite back.
Yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
true.
yeah.
Really hard to get an invite back,
Let me
Carson.
go check my email. I think I saw the invite there at one point.
Ooh,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a story that's been told and hopefully will never be told again.
Well, we got time on the podcast to
Yeah.
talk about
We got
it.
time. So, what do you think the next 5 years holds in terms of direction and where you're going and what you plan on doing?
Yeah,
going
I think we're
forward?
going to see. We're going to continue our whiskey expansion. Flyaway is very popular. A nice alternative because it is not corn, and it is gluten free. Which
Oh, that's good.
technically all distilled spirits is gluten free, but those that have celiac disease will not drink anything that's not labeled gluten free. So we continue to press on that front. I think the RTDs, I think the soju, we have to adapt to what's going on in the marketplace,
Mhm.
and but we're gonna stay true to our bourbons and our whiskeys as well. But it's it's a crapshoot. What's going to happen with the tariffs? Tariffs are going to hit whiskey imports first because they did it during COVID and the last administration. So we're going to see Scotch go up in price again. We're going to see, and then of course, not being smart, marketeers were just going to match the price
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they did the last time, which just throws the price of whiskey back up again. So if you are a whiskey fanatic, again, go start storing up on your whiskeys because things are going to change after the new administration.
I know you had mentioned gold medal winning whiskeys and double gold. When you go to a competition like that and one of your products wins, do you ever see an uptick in purchases, or is that just a pride thing for you?
It's a affirmation, right? So we do it just to say, okay, we get something that's called distiller's tongue, because we drink our own too much.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm the best hunter in the blind because my buddies suck. And then you get into a blind that guy's, taking down geese with a 410, the point is that you only know how good you are if you put yourself out there, and those competitions allow you to do that.
Okay.
Are they important? Not really. I think to the consumer, they can care less. I mean, I go down to, if I'm going to go buy some wine, I'm looking for labels that I've had in the past that are really good, that I know are good. And I'm probably suspect if it's all in a really super fancy bottle, that's the first thing to tell you, don't buy this, because if they put all their money in packaging, the liquid's usually
Mm-hmm.
and that goes for whiskey exponentially. I mean, a good example is Pappy.
Oh yeah, Pappy Van Winkle.
It's in a 75-cent bottle. I mean, it's in the cheapest packaging you can put a whiskey in, and it's one of the best whiskeys you can buy. It's not worth the price that people are paying for it right now.
Yeah,
It's worth $150 for their.
yeah, it's a collector's item at this point.
Oh, it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid because they've taken a brand that was, it's a good solid brand, but it's not worth $350, $450, $1,500, $2,500
For a bottle?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Some of the Pappies, the older Pappies, yeah, they're thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's
Really?
because I'll tell you a quick story. So if anybody's listening who is a whiskey guy, I'll explain what's going on here. When somebody buys from Sazerac, who is the owner of Buffalo Trace Distillery, and they produce the Pappies. If you buy XYZ cases of Buffalo Trace and all the other Weller and all the other products that they produce, then if you hit a certain level, you get a bottle of Pappies. And it could be the 10-year, or it could be the 15-year, or it could be the 23. And of course, if you buy a lot, you get a lot of those allocated bottles will be given to you. Well, then the liquor store owner goes, "Oh, this is free. I'm going to stick it up, and I'm going to put a $500 price tag on it. Because if I sell it, I sell it. If I don't sell it, who gives a shit? It was free." Tater walks in the door, sees Pappy's up there for $500. He's had a couple of drinks. He wants to impress his friends at the party he's going to, and he buys that bottle.
Gotcha. Because they're only
And
getting
they're
one or
shooting-
two, they're getting it for free, so they're going to post it up there and say, "Who cares if it sells or not?"
Exactly.
They're not getting cases of it and are trying to
Exactly.
sell it.
So then that thing just grows exponentially within the bourbon community as far as the collectors. And so there's immediate value placed on that because retailers place that value,
Interesting.
and it just snowballs.
Hmm.
Is it good? Yeah, it's good. But I tell you, there's a lot of craft distilleries right now who've been in business for 10 or 15 years that are making whiskeys as good, if not better, who never get that type of response. Because everybody buys brands.
Mhm.
It's just like buying shotguns. Come on. Mechanisms of most shotguns are so close, probably produced by the same guy, same company in Turkey, whatever. Is there a difference? Not really. Sitka's waiter's different because of zipper, but that's a whole nother story. Right? That's a functionality thing. But, I have a pair of frog togs I go out hunting with, and they're, $200 waiters, $250. So do they work? Yeah. So it's a matter of your taste and then what you're willing to pay for it. But the price of bourbon, the price of whiskey is all fictitious, because it costs all about the same to make.
Gotcha.
In fact, what Sazerac is doing at Buffalo Trace, their bottle cost per bottle getting down to maybe a quarter. 25 cents is what it costs them to put that liquid in the bottle. So
That's crazy.
yeah, it is. It is crazy. So when you think about what's going on, it's it's a gangster business, always has been, and it's all about what you can sell the public. So, and we just think, better products, better quality, grains, better water. Everybody says that because the whole industry is at one. We've all raised to that level. We're all producing at that level. It doesn't matter if you're a craft distiller or you're a big guy. Everybody's producing great whiskey. So seek out something different. If it doesn't taste good to your palate, don't buy it again. But you may find something that tastes really good that you didn't expect was going to taste that good.
Now, let's say if you get one of these high dollar bottles of whiskey, once you pop that top,
Yep.
Are you good for a while, or should
Oh,
you drink
absolutely.
it? It's just always going to be the same.
It'll get a little oxidation, but if you keep it stored in a cool place, don't stick it on the counter where the sunlight can get to it.
In cabinet, right?
Yeah, keep it in a cabinet, keep it cool. It's going to stay forever.
Does it matter cork versus screw on top versus like
No.
a glass jar with the nothing?
No, in fact, I think if my memory serves me correctly, Pappy's 10 years is screw top.
Really?
And some of the Wellers are screw tops. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because it doesn't matter. I mean, that was a statement. They made a statement back then too, like our whiskey's so good, we're going to put a screw top on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, some of those wineries are, even their good wines are putting in boxes now.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Because the consumer, consumer is different. The people out there buying, you got to remember, this Gen Z grew up during COVID. They were partying at home. They were just buying whatever they could buy.
Yeah.
And so they're not programmed like my generation where, you always had to take a course at UC Davis to buy a bottle of wine because you wanted to be you need to really know what you were buying, and you were checking out what, trying to think of the guy's name, the reviewer.
Homemade sommelier.
The sommelier, but I'm trying to think of the guy's
92 is a
name.
good
Parker.
year.
Whatever Parker, Parker's ratings, what did he rate that? I mean, we lived and died by that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure he still exists. I'm sure that list is still there, but I don't think the average consumer cares anymore. They just don't. And it's the same thing with the metals. They don't care because does it really matter? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people that get double golds and you're like, yeah, it's okay.
Huh.
So whatever that taster or that group of tasters had that day, whether it was coffee before or some of them are very strict about not eating before they do a tasting. You don't know what's going on in their life. They could have a cold. They could any number of things can affect that judging of that day of that whiskey. And, it's a crapshoot.
Huh.
It's a crapshoot. So drink what you like, In fact, I'm trying to think, I think it was one of the owners of Wild Turkey once said to a bunch of whiskey writers, because they asked the question, how should I drink it? Should I drink it with ice or not ice? And he says, you can put Coke on it. I don't care. As long as you buy my whiskey, you drink it the way you want. So that's
true.
It's true.
Yeah. Once this bottle leaves your distillery, you don't care what they do with it as long as they're drinking it.
Yeah. As long as you drink it. Whatever way you want to drink your whiskey, drink your whiskey.
I like that.
Is there much of a difference between let's take a Black Velvet and like a Jefferson Ocean? Is there much difference in the two? Like in terms of how they're bottled, how they're made?
They're mash bills. So
Okay.
what the mash bill, when I talk about mash bills, what are the grains that went in to make that whiskey? So how was it distilled? Was it distilled in a pot still, which is usually a batch process, which requires 2 distillations? Or if it was done in a column still, which is what most modern whiskeys are done in the U.S., big tall column, separates out the alcohol, moves it over, throws it into a thumper, redistills it in the thumper, all in the same process, and then produces the white dog, which then goes into a barrel.
Okay.
We do pot still here. We do pot still for a reason, because we believe that the fusel oils that come over in post distillation that you don't get in a column still adds mouthfeel and adds makes a better whiskey. So that would be more like a Scotch production, like the Scotch guys do in Scotland. And the Irish, they also big pot still distillers, because it just gives some more oily feel. But that plays a bigger role. That mash bill and the distillation process plays a bigger role than the marketing. So Black Velvet, all those mid shelf, lower shelf, they're all pretty much close. I will tell you there are some, like Old Granddad, and there's some outliers there that are really exceptional whiskeys. If you bought them 10 years ago, you could buy them for $19 for a fifth, and now you couldn't touch them. I mean, because they're just, collectors just know it was really good whiskey. And they used to put, back in the last depression, bourbon depression, decanters became real popular. So every company would come out with a different decanter. Including,
I remember that.
Yeah, including all the other duck organizations. They went really deep with those guys. And you could, there's collectors that'll collect all those DU decanters.
The decanters. We saw a bunch of them that one time.
We had a bunch donated.
They were in our warehouse. They were Ducks Unlimited ones. Somebody donated to us a bunch of Ducks Unlimited decanters.
Well, some of them,
you could put those on eBay and make some coin.
They were Jim Beam decanters.
Yeah, I think we opened one though. It was there was some floaties in there or something.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. If you drink, you should drink that stuff.
Out.
That stuff's really good. There's
what's up with the floaties? That wasn't visually.
appealing.
Something that I'd want to put in my mouth.
It could have been char from the barrel from the beginning.
Okay.
You know?
We screwed up.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
You did screw up.
I knew it.
If you dumped it out,
Did you throw
dumped
that
it out?
stuff out?
Come on.
I don't know what happened to it. There might be some still there.
If they are, they're in the back corner of that shelf. We'll have to check now.
But
I'm
there
interested.
was definitely some.
If there's a couple of full ones, bring them over here. We'll drink them.
Huh.
There's some really great whiskeys that were in decanters back in the 70s and 80s that were just there's the Chessmen
sitting on a gold mine.
They used
I'll have to track some down. I think I
they
might
used
know where
to
some
sell
are.
a whole chess set
Yeah.
in decanters, and you could collect them and have the red and the white and the black pieces and all that.
Huh.
That's some of the best whiskey I've ever drank.
No kidding.
And it was cheap whiskey back
Wow,
in
we
the day.
screwed up. Darn, Chris, gosh.
Pretty sure
We had so many of them too.
those should probably come over to the veteran hunt program events.
Well, what we should do a decanter for the veteran hunt program.
There we go. That'd be
all
super
right.
cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Put the beaver on top.
Yeah.
No,
American
or
flag.
Just put the American flag or soldier.
Love that.
Iwo
Bring it
Jima,
back.
Yeah, let's
do
do it.
Let's do it.
Do some the Iraqi statue or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Talking business now.
Kellogg, you're on the sidelines for this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was teasing Mike Kellogg earlier about being a crayon eater, only because he's a Marine, but he is an exceptional human being, man. That
He
guy
is. We're lucky to
really
have
good.
him.
He is.
We're
Great
lucky
guy.
to have him.
That guy, he just terrorized me for 2 years. I want to volunteer. I want
Similar
to
to
come
what
on
Mike
here.
did. Mike Peeters did to me.
So we heard the saga in the blind, because he was telling Ron about his story with CWA.
He was crazy, that guy.
He was talking. I think he had a little brown on his nose when he got done talking about you, but he was talking really good about you and the tutelage you gave him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He just wore me out for about 2 years. I finally said, "Oh, okay, all right, let's let you volunteer once," and then he didn't muck it up too bad. And the great path that Mike followed with us. He's just such a it's all selfless service. He just does such a good time and I was watching him develop and be part of the program, and he brings so many different great aspects to what we're doing. I had called Jeff behind the scenes and said, in the military, right, we got to have a change of command. So I said, Kellogg's taking over the program. Jeff's like, no, he's not. You're not going anywhere. Well, I'm not going anywhere, but I think it's important that he becomes the face of the organization because he's doing all the work. He's building the program. He's leading everything we're doing. So relatively quickly, we threw him into the fire, and he's done such a great job leading. And so I can remain with the program and support it and. Just watch it build and watch all the great things he's done.
You come out every once in a while, drink some whiskey and talk to us, and then
do the good stuff.
Do a podcast.
Do a podcast, right?
Yeah.
And they don't normally let me on these things, so here's my opportunity.
You're working your way in. This is going to be your new job for us,
right?
Yeah, but you're great. He's great. Every volunteer that's out there, the blind. I mean, these guys are selfish.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting in the time. They're putting the effort. And that's not an easy job.
No.
There's, just from a safety point of view, you go into a blind with somebody you don't know, your head's on a swivel.
Absolutely.
And it's on the swivel the whole time you're out there. So it's not fun and games for them. And they're committed to make sure that veteran has a great experience. Yeah. And nobody gets hurt. And that's not an easy job.
No, they're on their own time, their own dime, and they're providing, a service to fellow veterans, and it's phenomenal that we have a great network of folks and people supporting it. But Kris, can you tell us a little bit more about kind of where we're at and how people can come visit you? Like I said, when Carson and I got here, this wasn't here when we lived in Chico, and it is such a cool place. And can you kind of describe what it is and how people can come visit here? Okay,
so this is called the Golden Beaver Distillery Still House. It's on South Park Avenue in Chico by the Commons, which is another beer joint here. And what you're sitting in front of is basically our interpretation of a of a still house in the woods of North Carolina or even here in California back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
And all of the wood that you're seeing is all reclaimed. In fact, those beams that are over the bar, one of my partners is a contractor, and he used to build homes up in Atherton. So if you've been up into the McMansion area of south of the peninsula, down the Bay Area,
Yeah.
those beams came out of a house that was built in the late 1800s, and those beams were hand-hewn in Honduras.
No kidding.
Oh, wow.
And you can still see the chop marks. You can see on the bottom side. You can see where they took the axe and the hatchet and chopped those square. And so it's all reclaimed wood. And we also have in back behind the bar area, we have an actual distillery, because in the state of California, you can't have a tasting room for a distillery unless there's a still. You have to be an active distillery on site.
Really?
So federally, we can have California. We can have federally we can have 10 tasting rooms within 10 miles of our main distillery up at the airport. But the airport site too far away from town for people to go out drinking and drive home, first of all. And then they did a big major road construction on Cohasset that lasted 2.5 years. Totally killed our foot traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were actually financially forced to open this location.
Wow.
Because we couldn't get anybody out there during construction, because there were concrete dividers put up and narrow roads, and I didn't like driving during sober. I mean, it was not good for folks. So we opened this location, and so that's still behind us. It was handmade, and it's called a Tennessee Thumper. And a guy named Rick Gibson, you might have heard his name if you've watched the Moonshiners. He's made some stills for those guys. It's a special type of still that we can do infusions. So basically, as that vapor comes off the still, it goes through those mason jars. And each one of those mason jars is a distillation. But we can put different things in those mason jars to infuse those flavors into the moonshine. So we do things like mango habanero. We do jalapeno and pineapple, and those drinks end up on our cocktail list.
Okay.
So it's a functioning still, but it's a very unique still.
Can I buy one of those stills for Christmas?
Side hobby.
Put it in my
project.
house.
With your retirement, Mike, you can do whatever you want.
You can. I'll give you Rick's name and phone number, and you can.
He must be out in my area somewhere.
He's actually from Tennessee, but he lives in Atlanta right now.
There you go.
Super cool guy, funny guy.
Yeah.
And so he built that for us, and it's kind of a special still. Allows us to do some cool stuff. So the still house is, it's a place that's casual. We've got a stage here. We have live music a couple nights a week. And we have a kitchen here. It's very small, but we have a vendor in here that provides food per ABC rules for us to have a full craft cocktail bar. And his food's great. He just came on just before Thanksgiving, and he's doing a great job. And it's good food. So you can come out and have a meal and have a cocktail.
Right on. Yeah. So if you're ever in the North Valley, head up to Chico. This place is so cool. I wish I'm going to have to come back up here with the wife and have a date up here.
Sounds
it's phenomenal.
good.
And maybe host a little event up here or something.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah,
maybe
it is pretty
CWA
awesome.
event.
Yeah,
But
do some small CWA events.
Yeah.
We can hold about 75 people.
Perfect. Get the ball rolling on that.
Yeah.
But Kris, just want to say thank you so much for your support on the Veteran Hunt Program and having us here today. And it's just a pleasure talking to you, and we really appreciate it. So if you're looking for any Golden Beaver Distillery products, check them out at Costco. Look for that Pacific Flyway whiskey. And like I said, every percentage of that sales goes back into our very, very popular Veteran Hunt Program.
Yeah, and if you're a resident of California, you can order online and we can ship it to you.
Oh, nice.
Right on.
That's still going, thanks to the governor, because the assembly just can't get their stuff into one bag and get a vote.
Gotcha.
So, because outside influences, I won't say distributors are a pain in the ass, but,
Yeah.
it's a gangster business.
Sounds like it. No, well, appreciate you so much, and thank you so much, Kris. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
we
guys.
appreciate it.
All right, signing off. Save it for the Blind podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Save It for the Blind podcast. You can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.